This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Gladiator Metals, Mr. Jason Bontempo. Jason, great having you back on. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Gerardo. Good morning for me.
Well, listen, let's get right into it. You had one heck of a release. I don't want to call it a copper bull's dream, but this project, the more I dig into the scale and the exploration upside and the historical data that you're now processing, the more I think this might be a copper bull's dream, which is obviously, pretty great timing on you and the team's part. Teck just rejected Glencore's $22.5 billion offer. I think M&A in the copper space is going to continue. If you listen to people like, Mr. Robert Friedland, he believes copper's headed significantly higher. And the release you had today announcing additional high-grade copper intercepts from some data that previously you hadn't processed, just absolutely phenomenal. Let me highlight some of the numbers here. 89.61 meters of 1.89% copper. That's from 26.2 meters. It's shallow, right? 57.91 meters of 1.27% copper. That's from 53 meters. You have an intercept of 7.83 meters of 8.3% copper from 23.93 meters. So we'll put a link to the release, but congratulations. You're off to a heck of a start here.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Gerardo. Look, the project has, as I've sort of alluded to before, it's never really, it's not been public effectively. And what we've managed to do is digitize and collate what is close to 25,000 meters of drilling, and this is just at Cowley. So this was an area that originally Hudson Bay were planning to mine back in the late 70s, early 80s. And remember, it was only because of the copper price crash in 1982 that they didn't get to this spot. So what they'd done is they had drilled quite close space drilling on some outcropping, high-grade skarn mineralisation at Cowley. Quickly got to a resource, and it's not, well, in their day, a reserve. But then they shut the mine down, so it never got mined. And then over the years, our vendors, our private owners, obviously had worked the property. So this is a project that's had close to over 200 holes drilled. As I said, 25,000 meters. And what it's really showing us is that, and you can see that there's some quite close space drilling, that there's some significant copper values, and they're near surface, they're shallow dipping, and clearly our aim here is to show that it's going to be a significant resource and ultimately a reserve, and we're not finished with it. I mean, the prospect is open along strike, it's open at depth. The deepest vertical hole is 150 meters. It's only one of 30 known prospects within this 35-kilometer long belt. So we're pretty excited about Cowley, and we think that it's far from being tested for its size. There is real potential for this to be double, if not quadruple, the size that we see it already, just on the existing drilling.
Well, let's talk about what you just said, right? You mentioned that this is just from Cowley, right? You have at least 30 known prospects. I got to believe that's going to grow, but 30 known prospects within a 35-kilometer by 5-kilometer area. That's a potentially massive scale of a project and or projects, right? The other thing that I'm really intrigued by is you mentioned that you fully intend to assay for all the future drilling. You intend to assay for silver, gold, and molybdenum. Can you speak to that a bit? That was interesting to me.
Yeah. So look, back in the day, Hud Bay didn't assay for the other minerals, and so we intend on doing that with our drilling. We also intend on doing that with the 10,000 metres of existing diamond core that we do have stored. A lot of it, from Cowley. So what we're trying to sort of allude to there is that the grades that you're seeing at the moment, on a copper equivalent basis, we expect to be higher, because we do know that even back when Hudson Bay mined at Little Chiefs, where they did, over the 15 years they mined 10 million tonnes, and they not only produce copper, but they produce gold and silver as well. So it's really interesting, to see what will come. But not only that, they only really assayed for copper at certain intervals on the core where they could see, where they could see the mineralisation. Our geologists are saying that there's most likely a significant copper background in the whole of the diamond core that's going to add even more copper grade. So it's pretty exciting. We really now get to go drill our own holes as well. So I mentioned the 10,000 metres of existing core that will log an assay, but we've got a 3,000 metre program for ourselves kicking off mid-April. But what you should know is that just at Cowley, the 25,000 metres, with 220 holes. Now these are holes that not only were just drilled by Hud Bay. I think Hud Bay might have drilled 130 of them, but the balance have been drilled by our partners over the years, and as recently as only a few years ago. So it's not like these are historic holes and that they all come from the early 80s. There's a number of holes that have been drilled over the last 10 years. So that's why we've got a huge amount of confidence in Cowley.
No, look, it's a heck of a start. What comes next, Jason? You alluded to it a bit, but what comes next for those that may be impressed by the grades, the continuity, the scale, the depth of where you're finding, a lot of this copper in the historic drilling? What comes next?
Okay, well, two parts. First will be a lot more activity at Cowley. If you look at Cowley and you look at even just our first cross-section, it really does highlight that it is quite mineralisation, quite thick, and also shallow and shallow dipping. So that's a real ideal scenario for drilling out a resource, and a significant resource potentially. But what it's also showing us is that we think that Cowley actually has significantly more potential. If you look at if the listeners look at the column map plan in the news release, you'll see there's not much drilling in the south, and that it remains completely open. So what we want to prove is just start showing just how big potentially Cowley is. But then in addition to that, so the second part of our work over the next 3 months will be also releasing more information on the balance of the historic drilling that's occurred on the Whitehorse Copper Belt. So at the moment, we've obviously released over 200 holes at Cowley, but we've digitised over 800 holes. And so what we have is a number of other priority prospects. There's at least another 4 as we work from Cowley and we work north up the Copper Belt. So over the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to be showing them as we digitise and collate and analyse. We're going to be releasing more information of other priority areas that we think have the potential to host significant economic copper tonnes at high grade, shallow, near surface and shallow dipping as well. So it's a combination of work at Cowley and also continuously releasing more information on the historic drilling, which shows that this is potentially a copper belt that could end up being quite a significant mining camp. 100 million tonnes plus at 1.5%. That's a very big mining camp for the style of mineralisation that we have here, which is the low tonnage but the high grade.
Couldn't agree with you more. Exciting times for the company. It sounds like a boatload of news moving forward. Looking forward to chatting again soon, Jason. Thank you so much for your time and the update.
We'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.